Recently, the Nuggets hosted a home game against the Suns, who were missing their big three. Despite Jokic and Michael Porter combining for 42 points, the team ultimately fell 114 to 118, suffering their third consecutive loss. Though their preseason record has been poor so far, it's clear that the Nuggets are treating these games as practice opportunities to find their rhythm. There have also been some encouraging developments, such as Porter's improved driving and contact ability after gaining weight in the offseason, and Aaron Gordon showing a different shooting form compared to last season. Of course, the most surprising element for Nuggets fans has been the chemistry between new addition Westbrook and Jokic. After Westbrook's disappointing performance in last year's playoffs, many thought he might be out of a job this summer. However, thanks to Jokic's active recruiting, the Nuggets managed to snag the 35-year-old veteran from the free agent market, bringing two former MVPs together. Based on their preseason performance, the outlook for these in the upcoming season is truly exciting. Today, let's talk about the pairing of Jokic and Westbrook. First, we need to understand the reason behind Westbrook joining the Nuggets, even doing so in a manner of unprecedented humility in his career. On one hand, he accepted the reality that his prime is behind him. On the other hand, he wasn't happy with his time with the Clippers, especially when he was benched by head coach Lue during the playoffs. As we all know, the current trend in the league's offense is dominated by perimeter shooting and fast drives to the rim, with the goal of maximizing offensive efficiency. However, Westbrook's playing style is more reminiscent of guards from the previous era. Not only does he lack shooting consistency, but with his declining athleticism, his once most reliable and lethal offensive weapon, driving to the basket, has also diminished, leaving his role on the court somewhat awkward. Fortunately, Westbrook has adapted in time, compensating for his offensive deficiencies with his passionate rebounding and aggressive defense. This did work for a period of time, but it must be acknowledged that the Clippers system was fundamentally incompatible with Westbrook. With George and Leonard as isolation scorers, the Clippers are one of the few teams that favor mid-range shots, which in some ways limited Westbrook's space on the floor. Initially, people may have hoped Westbrook would focus on playmaking, but after Harden joined the team, even that role was quickly taken over. Moreover, head coach Lue's preference for small ball lineups means that Westbrook could still contribute when the team needed to speed up the offense and emphasize fast breaks. But most of the time, Lue prioritized shooting and spacing. As a result, the Clippers' style didn't effectively bring out Westbrook's strengths, particularly during stretches when he shared the floor with the big three. In those moments, Westbrook often struggled to find his place. The situation is clearly different with the Nuggets. In terms of need, off-season personal losses meant that a team with Jokic had to seek reinforcements, especially after Reggie Jackson's departure, which left a gap at the backup point guard spot. Westbrook, as a ready-to-contribute player, fits perfectly. In other words, a year ago, it was more like Westbrook chose the Clippers, but now it's the Nuggets that chose him. Feeling needed again, Westbrook naturally plays more freely. In the first game against the Celtics, he played 18 minutes, recording a well-rounded stat line of 12 points, 4 rebounds, and 8 assists, and even shot 3 of 6 from beyond the arc. Yesterday against the Suns, he added 9 points and 6 assists. From specific game sequences, it is clear that Westbrook has been trying his best to adapt his strengths to fit into the Nuggets' cohesive style of play. In this play, Saric's screen at the top of the key didn't create an immediate scoring opportunity for Westbrook. However, despite the tight defense, Westbrook still managed to use his individual ability to force a successful drive, drawing the help defender before dishing it off to his teammate for an easy layup. This kind of individual scoring burst was something the Nuggets previously lacked. Take another play as an example. During a fast break, Westbrook pushed the ball up the court and observed the disorganized defensive formation. He decisively passed to Tyson, who was open in the corner, and then set an off-ball screen to block the trailing defender, leading to make a three-pointer. At least in terms of his own court presence, it seems like the confident Westbrook of old is back. More importantly, beyond his improved form, the chemistry he has shown with Jokic has been better than many expected. In fact, when Westbrook first signed with the Nuggets, the initial reaction was largely about filling the team's playmaking gap during the second unit, or that he could feed Jokic in the post. As for his off-ball skills, they seemed, to some extent, not very compatible with Jokic. Take the stats for example. Last season, Westbrook averaged only 0.78 points per off-ball possession, which is far below the league average of 1.09 points. Additionally, his catch-and-shot three-point percentage was a poor 24.8%, ranking 4th worst among all players who averaged at least one attempt per game. This even led some fans to question, can the best player in the world really elevate Westbrook? But based on their preseason performance, their off-ball chemistry hasn't been as bad as initially imagined. For instance, in this sequence, Jokic positioned near the basket, backed down Brown and drove to the rim, prompting the Celtics to collapse into the paint. Jokic paused briefly and kicked the ball out to an open Westbrook at the left 45-degree angle. Westbrook caught the ball and fired, knocking down the three. In the 2 preseason games, Westbrook shot 50% from 3 and 83.3% from the free throw line, showing a clear improvement in his shooting. If he can capitalize on similar open shots in the upcoming season, this signing could turn out to be far more valuable than initially expected. In addition, Westbrook showcased several impressive off-ball sequences with Jokic, involving precise ball movement and chemistry. In this play, Jokic held the ball at the top of the key while Westbrook moved up from the wing to set a screen. At the moment when 2 defenders trapped Jokic, Westbrook immediately rode to the basket. Jokic understood the play perfectly, lobbing the ball for Westbrook, who finished with a one-handed slam, completing the alley-oop between the two. Across the entire league, there are only a handful of teams capable of executing this type of reverse 1-5 pick-and-roll. From a tactical perspective, Westbrook is playing a role similar to Gordon's, acting as the role man in the starting lineup's pick-and-roll situations. This highlights a valuable slashing ability of this 35-year-old veteran, while also illustrating how Jokic's playmaking and the Nuggets' offensive system allow Westbrook to showcase his strengths. Take the first quarter sequence for example. Jokic pushed the ball up to the free throw line and then passed to Westbrook, who was positioned in the corner. Jokic immediately set a screen, allowing Westbrook to drive along the right side. As he drew defensive attention, Westbrook used a crafty bounce pass to find the cutting Gordon, who dunked easily. The entire play was as smooth as flowing water, and it was evident how important Westbrook's role is within the Nuggets system, completely different from the purely workhorse role he played last season. Of course, besides being activated offensively, Westbrook has also maintained his typical focus on defense. Take this defensive sequence for instance. The Suns attempted to initiate a pick-and-roll after receiving the ball, but Westbrook and Saric, positioned at the top, kept excellent defensive position throughout. At the moment of the pass, both players reached in simultaneously, resulting in a successful steal. This kind of defensive synergy was rare in the Nuggets' second unit last season. It's fair to say that Westbrook's value goes far beyond his individual skills. He also adds a layer of physical toughness to the court. Considering all the aforementioned characteristics and comparing them to last season's counterpart in Reggie Jackson, it's a significant qualitative upgrade. After discussing Westbrook's partnership with Jokic, let's talk about the outlook for this star guard and the Nuggets in the new season. It must be acknowledged that after the 2012 NBA Finals and the 2016 Western Conference Finals, Westbrook may now be facing the most competitive season of his career, perhaps his best chance at winning a championship. Especially when it comes to the team's scorer, Jokic, who is likely the least problematic star that Westbrook has played alongside since KD. Before this, Harden during the Rockets era could never prove himself in the playoffs. LeBron during the Lakers era was too old, and the team was heavily aging. Leonard during the Clippers era was constantly plagued by knee injuries, with questionable availability. In contrast, Jokic, widely considered the best player in the world, is arguably the most consistent performer among all current NBA stars. As long as he's on the court, the team's floor is incredibly high. Moreover, Westbrook and Jokic also have a great relationship off the court. From the team's perspective, the loss of personnel after their championship run is a recognized fact for the Nuggets, particularly when it comes to the depth of the second unit. They might rank among the worst in the league. Other than Westbrook, Saric, signed for the veteran minimum, seems to be a dependable role player. He showcased shooting ability and offensive versatility during preseason, which could help reduce Jokic's burden during the regular season. Compared to DeAndre Jordan, Saric is a slight upgrade. As for other options on the bench, it appears to be quite thin. Rookies like Strother and Nagy are likely to be thrust into action in the new season, partially to develop young talent and partially because the Nuggets simply have no other options. This context explains why Nuggets fans have such high hopes for Westbrook. It's not just the second unit, the starting lineup also has some concerns, such as the inconsistency of perimeter core Jamal Murray. In the game against the Suns, he shot just 1 of 6 from the field, scoring only 2 points, seemingly still trying to regain the form he lost due to injury in the latter part of last season. Additionally, with Pope's departure, third-year player Brown will likely become the Nuggets' starting shooting guard in the new season. Whether it's defensive intensity or shooting consistency, there may be a noticeable downgrade. Considering the lack of depth in the rotation, the Nuggets face a real and challenging issue. If one of the 4 core starters gets injured, it will severely impact the team's competitiveness. This naturally places a high demand on their health throughout the upcoming season. For head coach Michael Malone, on one hand, he needs to manage the injuries of key players to minimize wear and tear, and on the other hand, he must keep the team competitive in the standings, a tough balancing act. In this context, Westbrook's role becomes extremely crucial. For the second unit, the Nuggets at least have a reliable floor general and problem solver. Malone no longer has to stick rigidly to rotation schedules like last season's, piecing lineups together and ensuring that either Jokic or Murray is always on the floor. This is also a role that Westbrook is most familiar with from his past. For the starting lineup, with Murray still dealing with injury concerns, the Nuggets at least have a backup plan to avoid putting Jokic in situations where he has to carry the entire load in certain games. So, as we've said, the Nuggets need Westbrook desperately at this stage, and Westbrook in turn needs a platform like the Nuggets just as much. So viewers, what kind of performance do you think Westbrook will deliver in the new season, and how far can this supposedly weakened Nuggets team go in the fierce Western Conference?